Hey, we're back with another video. Okay, so going to PowerPoints. This is about score navigation. What am I doing? Okay, here we go. So, woohoo, score navigation. Here are our champs for online learning, just as a little brain refresher. So just remember that when you are in a Teams meeting, you should have your microphone off unless otherwise instructed. If you need help, raise your hand, type questions in the chat box. If you have questions now as you're watching this, send me an email, leave a comment so that I can help you. Make sure you're focused on what we're doing in class. You really should be in front of your computer the whole time unless we're, having a break. And if you're watching this, you can pause it whenever you need to if you need to go do something else. So that's the good thing about this. And then just be engaged in what we're doing. I'll try to make it as exciting as possible. So just do your best with that. Okay, this is a form. It's going to be in your Microsoft team. So you can either, I don't think you can click on the form, but you should be able to find it in Teams that way. And it is which fast food place has the best burgers. So that's a good one, up for debate. And then after you do that, go ahead and come back. All right, so starting out, this is a staff. So a staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces. So you can see here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines and 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Music notes are oval-shaped symbols that are placed either on the line or in a space. And notes represent musical sounds or pitches. So as you can see, we've got notes in spaces here. We've got these ones in spaces, and we've got these ones on lines. Lines are numbered from bottom to top. So this yellow one right here, this is line 1. And then we've got line 2, line 3, line 4, and then line 5 is the top line, which is this blue one. Spaces are numbered the same way from bottom to top. So this yellow one is space 1, and then we've got 2, space 3, and space 4 is this blue one. And if this is ever too fast and you need to hear it again or you want to take notes, feel free to pause the video at any time. If notes are higher on the staff, they have a higher pitch. And if they are lower on the staff, they have a lower pitch. So when we're going from a note on the second line to a note on the third space, this note is higher than this note. And then if you're going from the third space to the second space, this one is going to be lower in pitch than this one. So then you can follow along with this. It goes higher, lower, lower, higher, lower, lower. This is maybe going to be in Teams. I'm going to have to figure out if I can upload that. But if you are at home and you would like to, you can draw on your whiteboard or on a piece of paper a staff. So make sure you've got 5 parallel lines. And then you can label the lines from low to high and the spaces from low to high. And you can do it that way. And then if you want to pause this, you can do the same thing. You don't have to draw in these extra lines. This is just the vertical lines are so that you can have a space to actually put them in. But you can draw a staff and then put, if this is going on line 4, you'll draw a note, which is just an oval shape that represents a pitch. You will put that on line 4 and then put this one on space 1 and so on. So go ahead and pause the video and draw a staff on a piece of paper or on your whiteboard, and then go ahead and fill in those notes. And then go ahead and hit play when you are done. All right. In class, we're going to do this with the chat box, and I'm going to have you guys go ahead and type in whether the note is higher or lower. But if you're at home, just go ahead and say it out loud or think it in your head or something. So from this note to this note, is the second note higher or lower? Give you a second to think about it. If you wrote higher, you are correct. This one is below the staff, And then this one is on the second space. So it's going from low to high. What about this note to this note? We're going from the first space to the first line. Give you a second to think. If you said that this note is lower, then you are correct. How about, let's find something else. How about this one? We've got this note right here to this note right here. Is the second note higher or lower? If you said lower, you are correct. We're going from the first space to below the staff. All right, I know this looks like a lot, but we're going to get to all of it and we're going to take our time with it. So don't worry about it. This is just an overview of the things we're going to get to with the parts of a score. All right, so we are going to start with clefs. And a clef indicates whether the notes are higher or lower than other clefs, and also shows you note names. So if you just have 5 lines, it's kind of unclear about which notes are which. But when we've got the treble clef, we know that these notes are different than these notes. So for example, a note on the middle line of the treble clef is going to be different than a note on the middle line of the bass clef. And we'll get to more of that later on. This is just an overview. The treble clef is also known as the G clef, because you can see the treble clef goes around this line right here. This line on the treble clef is G. And then the bass clef is also known as the F clef, because the circle right here and then the 2 dots are on this line, which is F in the bass clef. This is a clef identification game. You can find your own by Googling bass and treble clef identification game, or I might be able to put a link to this into the Microsoft team, so that way you can all have access to this. All right, this is a fun activity. So this is drawing a treble clef and a bass clef. So let me see. Okay, so I will show you. So for a treble clef, you go down and then you come back up to the top and you make a big curvy line all the way down to the bottom. And then you curve that line around the G line. So let me see if I can draw on this right now. I think I can. Hopefully it'll work. Okay, perfect. We'll make it the same color. So you go down, all the way down. Sorry, it's kind of squiggly. And you start back up at the top and you make a big, like a backwards S, and then it curves around the G line. So go ahead and practice drawing a couple of those. You'll need to draw a staff on your paper or on your whiteboard, and then just practice drawing those. They're not easy to draw, but they're fun to draw. So this is something that if you are ever doodling, you can doodle a treble clef. And then for bass clef, it starts on the F line, draw a dot there, and then you make what looks kind of like a backward C, and then 2 dots over the line where F is. So it's going to look like this. You've got your circle, and then a backward C, and then you've got your 2 dots. And that is it for bass clef. So take some time, practice drawing those, and then go ahead and hit play when you're ready to move on. Key signatures tell us what key the piece of music is in, which if you are familiar with solfege yet, it will tell you where do is. And key signatures can either be sharps or flats, but not both. So these are ones that have flats. These are our flat key signatures. And then these are our sharp key signatures. So sharps kind of look like hashtags and flats kind of look like lowercase b's. So this is it's going to be a game when we are doing it in person. For now, just practice drawing some sharps and flats on your whiteboard or on your piece of paper. Go ahead and draw a couple sharps. Again, they kind of look like hashtags. And then some flats that look like lowercase b's, and make sure you know the difference between them. Okay, so on here, where is the key signature? We've got a whole page of a piece of music. We've got several lines of music, right? And we've got all different kinds of, like, we've got this symbol here. We've got some numbers. We've got MP, which all of this is stuff that we're going to get to later. But I want you to try to find the key signature. So if you remember, key signatures are made up of either sharps or flats. So where on here can you find a sharp, or like sharps or flats? So look at it for a second, see if you can find it. And then I will go ahead and show you. So right here, we've got a sharp. We've got sharps here and here, and then down here. So that is our key signature, is one sharp for this piece. And in pieces of music, the key signature can change in the middle of the song. So you have to make sure that you're always kind of looking for that to make sure that you are still in the right key. And that will tell you, again, where your kind of tonal center is. So where do is, and it'll tell you just which notes to sing. Okay, time signatures, not to be confused with key signatures. Time signatures tell us how to count music. So the top number tells us how many beats are in the measure, and the bottom number tells us what value the beat has. So for example, in 3/4 time, there are 3 quarter notes in each measure. So then in 4/4 time, how would we count that? You would have 4 quarter notes in each measure. And we'll get to this more in our note values presentation, but this is just an overview. So this is kind of just going over what I just said. This is a handy dandy little trick for you. For time signatures, there are, however, like whatever the bottom number is, there's that many, whatever the top number is, there's that many of the bottom number note lengths in the measure. And I know that sounds super confusing, but for 6/8 time, there are 6 eighth note values in the measure. For 3/4 time, there are 3 quarter note values in the measure. For 4/2 time, there are 4 half note values in the measure. For 4/16 time, there are 4 16th note values in the measure. And the bottom note is always going to be a half note, a quarter note, an eighth note, or a 16th note. It can get a little more complicated than that, but that's all we're going to see for now. So we don't have to worry about any of those super confusing, complicated ones. Okay, this is a Kahoot. The Kahoot is already in your Microsoft team. It's under the Kahoot tab at the top, so you can pause now and go play the Kahoot if you would like. All right, more parts of the score. So we already talked about the staff, which is 5 lines and 4 spaces. So we have several staves in this page. So we've got anywhere that there are 5 lines and 4 spaces, that is a staff. So there are all sorts of staffs on this page. A system is 2 or more staves that are joined together. So you can see we've got a treble clef and a bass clef staff. Those are joined together to make system 1. And then for this next one, we've got 3 treble clef staves and then 1 bass clef staff. And this is system 2. And then there's system 3. And you can tell where the staff or where the system ends because there's going to be a bigger gap in between. And you see how the staves are joined with a bracket. So there's a big bracket. This line joins all of these staves together. And that's how you know that that is a system. All right. So now we're going to talk about measures and bar lines. So this is measure 1. We've got a measure with the beginning, and then we have a bar line. And bar lines are used to separate measures. So since you can look up here, it's really tiny, but we're in 4/4 time, which means we have 4 quarter note values in the measure. So then after we've got 4 quarter note values, we need to indicate that that is the end of the measure. So that's what the bar lines do. They tell you where measures begin and where they end. So this is measure 1, and then measure 2, 3, 4, and so on. So whenever we are in person or whenever I am asking you to mark things into your score, this is something that you are going to do, is mark all of your measures. And you can see usually at the beginning of a system, it will give you the first measure number. So this is measure 5, and then it goes 6, 7, 8, and then you can see on the next system, we've got measure 9, and so on. All right, this is something else we need to be able to do. Sometimes we'll have more than one part at a time, but how can you tell who is who? So it's a little trickier in this one. It's not super specific, but you can tell at the beginning there's no words, just notes. So this is the piano part. And then in the next system, we've got this staff that has its own set of words and notes. And then we have this staff that has its own set of words and notes. So we know that there are 2 voice parts because you could not sing both of these at the same time, right? And then down here, we still have the piano part. So then look at this system. We've got this down here, which is what? The piano part. And then kind of the same as in system 2, we've got this, which is a voice part. And then we have this one here, which is a separate voice part. And the easiest way to tell is that there are 2 sets of words. All right, so I will have this as a PDF or a file in the Microsoft Teams so that you can label these. So you're going to need to circle the key signature, the time signature, write in all the measure numbers for the page like I showed you before. I'm going to ask you to draw brackets for each system, draw a star next to the voice part, and then we're going to cross out the piano part. So you don't even need to look at the piano part. So you will go to the PDF or document for the music, and you will go ahead and label these. So then once you're done, here is all of the answers. So we've got a circle around the key signature up at the top, and then a box around the time signature. We've got measure numbers. So measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. We've got brackets on the left for each system. So we've got system 1, system 2, and then system 3. A star next to each voice part. So anywhere where there's words, that's a voice part. And this one is a little bit more clear about, it says up at the top here, like this is piano. And then here it has soprano, alto, and baritone. And those are 3 different voice parts. So that's how you can tell where voice parts are. And then we drew big X's over all of the piano part because you do not need to worry about that. And that is the end of that one. So I hope that was as clear as it can be. Don't feel like you need to remember all of this right now. This is stuff that we're going to keep coming back to over and over and over again. We're definitely going to keep talking about key signatures, time signatures, and things like that. So don't stress if you don't quite understand. I just need you to be able to find everything on a piece of music. So if I say circle the key signature, I need you to be able to find the key signature and draw a circle around it. And I need you to be able to write in measure numbers and things like that. We'll do plenty more practice. So like I said, don't panic about this. This is just the very beginning of all of this. So I hope that this was clear. If you have any questions, please email or leave a comment so that I can help you out. But I hope that this all made sense to you, and I will see you soon. Thank you.